Welcome to Sky Notes. The season is upon us, eclipse season that is. Lillian and Tracy talk about eclipses and their significant cycles. Then they'll dive deep into the charts for the two eclipses that are coming up. It could be a wild ride, so let's check our Sky Notes. Hello, welcome to Sky Notes. Hi, Lillian.
Hey there. I
How are
can't
you
wait
doing?
to start talking about this week's topics.
Yes, eclipses. So we're already in the season, right? Because it passed its shadow marker this week, so we're in it. It is
Yeah,
eclipse
there's
season.
a wobble.
Yeah, for sure. And so today we're going to talk about the two eclipses because there's one on the 17th and one on March 3rd. So they're bookended as always. And sometimes there's three though, right?
Yeah, so there's 4 to 5 each year. First of all, we're going to discuss the cycles of eclipses and what makes each cycle unique via the cycles. Did I do it?
You did it really good. Okay.
I
So
need
Lillian,
puppets or something.
Lillian is in charge of the Cycles segment of the show.
You guys, I've had like way too much coffee. Let's just put it that way. So the cycle. So we looked up more information to kind of give you a sense of what these eclipses are, which we want to do each and every time. And what it is it's when the moon, either in rotating through its orbit to the ascending node or to the descending node. And when it makes contact with that and the ecliptic, that's when we have an eclipse. And so the nodes are where, I'm going to get this wrong. It's sort of you cast out the aura of the moon, and then where that meets the ecliptic, you put the nodes, the south node and the north node. We look at these eclipses in a unique way based on, I was saying before, like 12-sided dice. I went into this looking for Jimmy Saros and like why he named it that and that kind of thing. And there was nothing of the sort. It was really clean. It was NASA. But check this out. Here's how you determine the cycle of an eclipse. First, you take the synodic month, which is from new moon to new moon, which is roughly 29 and a half days. Then you go to the anomalitic month, which is from perigee to perigee. And perigee is when the moon is closest to the earth and in this eclipse state. And then you look at the draconic, which is from the node to the node. And I couldn't ascertain if it's from the ascending node to the descending, or if it's from the ascending to the ascending. But that geometry pairing and how unique that is determines which cycle it's in. And each cycle lasts, you add all of those months together, and it creates a 223 months synodic cycle, which translates into 18 years, 11 days, and some change in hours. And so each cycle has a unique geometry, and Bernadette Brady has done a great job of putting information to these. So I'll just quickly share that this eclipse is from cycle 121 and focuses on communication and sort of frustrations with the news. We'll talk about that more. And then the March eclipse at 1252 Virgo is from cycle 133, and that focuses on illusion or kind of getting caught up in manipulation, which again, we'll talk about. But the point of this is each one has an 18-year cycle. So you'll experience an eclipse and then 18 years experience something with similar themes. And so up to 40 cycles can be running at any one time, and they each have their own unique flavor. So that's one thing I wanted to say. That was from the good people at NASA. It was really cool. They give the eclipses that are conjunct the ascending node odd numbers and conjunct the descending node even numbers, which I thought was interesting. And the number system was developed by Dutch astronomer G. Venderbay from the Periodicity and Variation of Solar and Lunar Eclipses in 1955. But then, of course, I had to look at ancient astrology, and they started using this in Babylonian texts, which folks have been reviewing from the 8th century BCE, before Common Era. The Enuma, Anu, Enlil is one of the oldest astrological texts from Mesopotamia, and it includes omens about specific cycles in the sky. They didn't call them serocycles, but they recognized that each had a particular flavor and required a specific response. Ta-da! The serocycle.
Well, in astrology, there's all these cycles that overlap and do all these crazy things, right? And so it's interesting because it's like one of the other eclipse books, or actually it's a lunation book, is by, her last name is Pessin. I can't think of her first name, but she talks about how, so if you have a full moon, so this on the 3rd or whatever, we've got a full moon in Virgo. I think it's at 17. I can't remember. Like, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That there's going to be a connection to the square, the opening square. Beautiful. Around that 17 degree mark of Virgo, there's going to be a full moon that relates to it. And there's, you know what I mean? So she's like, if you go back and find the new moon, the square, the full, you can follow that thread through. And it's usually about a 2-year period, or 2 or 3 years, that there's this line that goes through it. And
that's what got me too, because mine were, bless, they look at the penumbra. Does the moon go through the penumbra, or does it connect with the penumbra? What? I mean, it's so like, are you wearing your ancestors' furs, and do you have a calculator? You know what I mean? It's so interesting, but it takes it further than, oh no, the sky just got eaten up. I mean, I'm reminded all the time about totality and how there's literally nothing we can ascribe to it that's similar. And so the physiological experience is going to affect us in some way. And these are great explorations to look at.
And to that point, we're moving into the closer days to this upcoming eclipse.
Yes.
And one of the, I don't know if you find this, but one of the physical and embodied experiences I have when we get into eclipse season is either my dreams get very odd, or my sleep is off, whether it's I need more or I can't sleep. Like that's an interesting thing, that it affects that nighttime healing part of our cycle.
And
I
like that.
And I wonder, like, I need to pay more attention, because this idea of letting things go, or things being taken from us during eclipse season, I have never actually, my dreams aren't as coherent as they used to be. So I haven't been able to connect those ideas. But I would, if you are somebody who has a coherent dream life that you remember, look for those things. See if there's something that's happening in your dreams during eclipse season that needs some attention, because because there just is such a connection to that nighttime slumber part of our life and eclipses.
I love that. I mean, being the porous, watery person that I am, the dream time has opened up for me. It's all dream time. And, I try as hard as I can to keep time chronological according to what other people describe. And it's absolutely impossible. I just get, impressions of different eras and who people are and stuff. And I'm excited about the shift from Saturn moving from Neptune into Aries, because I feel like it will clean a lot of that up for me without me having to do it.
And that happens like in 2 hours, 3 hours.
I know. I'm so excited.
Saturn finally leaves Pisces and goes into Aries. I think that'll be good for us as humans for a while, to have less of that Piscean energy. Neptune has done a job of us in its long stretch in Pisces. So
I just can't imagine any water remaining pristine and clean to the very end, right? If it's part of a process, it's going to be full of the impressions. And so if
Right.
you dip your face into it, you're going to go, ah!
I love that you reminded
Right.
me of that because that, water holds on to everything, right? It's our memory. And it's interesting to think about, Neptune has gone into Aries, Saturn's going to join. And that just sort of deepens that idea of purification for me, of that Aries
Yes.
fire, right? Going in
Yes.
and clearing, it's the purification of our water cycle. To me, I don't know, my sense of Aries, because it's burns so hot so fast, compared to Leo and Sagittarius, is like it feels like this, almost like an instantaneous purification, like, and take no prisoners, we're just going to wipe everything out of here and move forward,
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
yeah.
Definitely that potential. Yeah, exactly. We talk often about the differences between the signs from one to another and what a shock it is, and kind of the flavor of that from our perspectives. And it's so interesting because I know folks born around the cusp or close enough to have quite a bit of Pisces and Aries. And I feel like, I whereas people who have Aries and Taurus, I can often mistake them for Taurus just because it's such a fixed sign. And I'm reacting from a fixed place. Like if you understand the context, you can go kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, but to come from that crazy, here's what I get is what I'm trying to come to. Everything has a freaking emotion attached to it, right? You can't avoid it. A friend of mine said, dust is really just us. And I'm like, get that out of my house. Not, I love me, but not to
Not
carry
old
around,
dead floating
not
around you.
derided all over the carpet me. No, thank you. We're done. We're effectively done. And so there's this sense of like crispness that I think comes with that potential to eliminate everything, right?
Yeah,
It's just like pap, like snap to, right?
that was excellent. One of the things that I actually wanted to mention before we talk more about the eclipses and on the heels of the serocycles is, so the visibility of this particular one coming up, because that's something to consider, as there's a path that,
Right.
that everything goes across. So where you can see an eclipse is going to change just based on where everything is happening. And so
Yeah.
this particular one, although super intense, it can really only be seen from East Antarctica well.
I thought about that. I thought about those people in Antarctica, they get some pretty exciting events,
Yep.
but they are in Antarctica.
Fair. Fair. And it is a solar eclipse happening in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
right? So that's part of the challenge, is it's on the wrong side for us to be able to see, right? If it was
Yeah.
a lunar eclipse, it'd be fantastic here in the dark.
We
But
do. Yeah. And speaking of totality, we will have totality for the next two in
yeah,
August.
are there any parting thoughts about serocidal cycles before we continue?
Well, I'm struck over and over by how these are observations in nature that leverage the information that previous societies were able to capture. And so that means we can capture that information and we can feel what it means for us as astrologers, meaning the techniques we use to leverage storytelling to help people improve their lives based on these patterns can be deepened and deepened and deepened infinitely. So it's exciting.
Love it. Love it. All right. Well, I'm going to share the chart. Look at that. Oh, it's so much clearer than the way I had it last time.
Yeah, you're doing great. I love this.
So this is what the chart looks like for this upcoming February 17th. This is at, 7 a.m. in Eastern time. It's at 5 a.m. where I am. It'll be at 4 a.m. on the Pacific coast. And so it's happening here at the 28 degree 49 minute mark. That's where the sun and the moon are. But it's, first of all, everything is over on that one corner of the chart except for that Jupiter, right?
Yeah,
So
that's what this is, that bowl shape we were talking about in the month.
huge concentrated energy. And then I actually, for funsies, looked at what this looked like if I added the asteroid goddesses into this, they're
Oh,
all
yeah.
over in that same pile. They're all there. I was
Ah,
like, "Oh my gosh." Like, so we don't even have any of that, little bit less energy to
right.
draw us into those other parts of the zodiac at all. It's all
Mm,
still sitting in that pile
mm,
up
mm, mm,
between
mm.
Aquarius and Taurus. Yeah. And not even like leaning towards Jupiter. It literally is in the pack.
Mhm.
So what that means for us as individuals is that this is going to be hitting 1, 2, maybe 3 houses in your birth chart. So the energy of clearing and letting things go and things leaving your life are going to be very specific to where this is going to happen in your chart. Um,
Mhm.
and and so like the first thing that I noticed, and even when we talked about this earlier, Lillian, the first thing I
Mhm.
noticed was that Venus sitting
Yeah,
there with the North Node.
yeah.
And even when we did see it, I didn't it didn't process that it actually is sandwiched between it's like in the eclipse
Yeah,
because it's
because it's
there.
between the node and the sun and the moon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the other thing that I wanted to point out too was the lack of earth. And there's a few reasons for that. I go on about this, but nodal energy is really nebulous.
Mhm.
And it's either blowing a lot of energy at us from the
Right.
north node or it's sucking a whole bunch of energy out of the from the south node. And one of the things that is involved in having a positive outcome through an eclipse, I don't know how else to phrase that, is
Mhm.
through grounding and being in your body and making sure that you're good and stable through it. And we don't have the astrology to help us with that. And so, between having an eclipse and no earth, it's kind of like double or even triple. Get yourself grounded, do some
Mhm.
extra things to stay grounded. Yeah.
Mhm.
So what was the first thing that popped into your head about that Venus?
Well, I will mention that, but I wanna say the piece about, groundedness could be like fizzy lifting drink, like you laugh and you're allowed to be buoyed up. It shouldn't be something that you're assuming will show up in a particular way. The grounding, I write this down all over, is you call yourself back to yourself. You be who you are. And that, anything that stands in your way gets out of the way. So that was the first thing that popped up. But what got me was actually that Saturn, Neptune at the zero Aries, and how it's just leading everything, right? It's taking us into this new era, um, and that this feels still like a build up to April, right, where Uranus is going to make that change. And so, as I was saying before, though, this is cycle 121. So if you guys want to look up Saros cycle 121, I would recommend looking at Bernadette Brady because she will give you very cool information. What she talked about was how hard it is to get accurate information, right? Like that this communication piece is what's relevant, what's helpful, what do I have to deal with? And I see that in this with the North Node in Neptune, like I would imagine there'd be a message coming through uh,
Hmm.
for it. But I don't know, like when we've talked a lot about don't muck about in an eclipse, right? So the advice I usually give is, observe, try as hard as you can to be an observer. And keep in mind, you'll see the kind of bump 6 months from now because it'll mature and kind of come to a message. So, the notes that I would have for folks with this cycle is to be thoughtful about what you're saying, to let things take the time they need to untangle, to not push against things that are being an obstacle, because we don't know if that's, for you, for your guide, for your help, or if it's an obstacle for real.
I like it.
Yeah.
And for anybody who's looking at this in terms of like looking at it with your own chart,
Yeah.
um, any one of these points from this chart connecting to something in your birth chart is going to kind of pull the story into your life, depending on where that is. And of course, the if it's the sun and the moon, especially the moon, then it's going to be a direct sort
Yeah.
of connection,
Yeah.
or the nodes,
Right.
right? There's going to be some kind of a direct impact. And with eclipses, we're always talking about a very tight orb. So 1 degree,
Right.
maybe 2, depending on what it is. But if you have something at 0 or 1 Aries, or even 29 Pisces,
Mm-hmm.
so, there's something there for you in this eclipse. Same with the 16 Pisces that Mercury is at, or
That's right.
we said 8 Pisces for the North Node, but Venus is there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that. And I mean, that Venus North Node conjunction is 5 minutes. Like, that's a tight.
Let me tell you, it is partial square Jason's Venus North Node conjunction.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. And
Very
my son.
Right. So one of the things that I'd written down here is, so there's not a lot of Earth, as I said, and with
Yes.
Neptune conjunct Saturn, the eclipse energy grounding is going to be more important than ever because of the lack of Earth, but also because Neptune is disrupting the Saturn stability. So
Yes.
that's the other piece, right? Where we would normally go to find stability or anchor ourselves is drunk.
Yeah.
Saturn's gonna be drunk for a little while, so just
But it's
kind of
a fresh drunk. This is a new drunk. This
Yeah.
is not your old
It's
Saturn and Pisces drunk.
right. It's when
Yeah.
it's when the buzz kicks in,
Yeah.
right? It's like, oh, woo, party
Yeah.
start.
Yeah.
That. But it's not gonna make the best decisions at that point, for sure.
This
Like,
is why
really,
going slow
fresh
is a
drunk
blessing.
is the worst choices that lead to really bad choices. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Events might push towards something new that wants traction,
Mm-hmm.
whether you feel ready or not. So keep
Mm-hmm.
that in mind.
That's true.
There could be a feeling of being overextended, or with that Venus on that North Node, an overpowering sense of wanting something,
Yeah.
right? Because that Venus in Pisces
Mm-hmm.
is super idealistic. It's
Yes.
it's a evening star. It's in Pisces, and Neptune is over there with Saturn doing some stuff. So that Venus is super idealistic and dreamy and lovely. On the North Node, you have to magnify that by 1,000. So these are some big dreams that are being put out there, right? And so that's something to keep in mind, is that anything anybody's agreeing to connected with this eclipse, create really strong boundaries around your capabilities and your time and everything, because this is very set up for taking on way more than you can handle.
Yeah.
Right. This is a be careful what you wish for chart.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Very clear, instructions, contracts, all of that, because, this could be, I'll go and I'll talk, and no, it's a 3-week, workshop that you actually don't have time for. So just keep those things in mind. For sure. The North Node pulls in more that's comfortable. So, and also things can get ramped up, like, that are connected to what you want. So your ambition, desires, things could look like opportunities that maybe aren't. So, making sure that there's no rose-colored tint on your glasses as you make these choices is going to be really important. Yeah. And then, with Venus sandwiched in there, it's all just, it's magnified. Like, it's literally Venus being projected like the Batman symbol onto the sky, and everything that's attached to her, right?
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think about it being intercepted? Does that factor in? I wouldn't factor it in for an eclipse.
What I would add is that there's a lesson in the Pisces, right? Because the interceptions are always, that actually adds to the theme. I don't think it changes it at all. I think that when you have an interception, there is no area of life where that sign gets to play out. So, that just adds to that idea that whatever you bring, you don't have a spot to do anything with it.
So interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that could be another thing that happens, is that, so say you take on this amazing project, but then you find out that you're actually going to get paid in a lifetime supply of menstrual pads, and you're in menopause. Like, it's that kind of idea, right? Like, it's just something that you're not really going to get to use in the way that it's meant. And then it might be hard to see the positive in it at first. So yeah.
Yeah, I thought about it with that cycle as bad news coming in that you're not sure how to manage, right? And I feel like, regardless of who's doing what, the media has gone batshit crazy. I mean, did you hear that Elon Musk had his offices raided in France for child porn because Grok has been supplying people on Twitter with nude pictures of whoever they want. Somebody puts a picture up on Twitter and they say, "Hey, Grok, can I see them naked?" So children and women and all of these things that are unprotected and unregulated. And Macron is not backing down, there, and it feels like a little bit of that, like the vibe is messy still, but we're moving into this kind of next strong phase. So what I was saying was the news agitating because there's something going on. Even if we didn't know any of the characters and we didn't have our own allegiances, I feel like it would still be like this because
Yeah.
of the AI and our
Yeah.
our question about is it okay for anybody to make up reality, which is what I think AI really is. Although it's also a great review of lots of data.
Yeah, well, and that such a poignant statement when you think about the Saturn and the Neptune conjunction too, because the Saturn's going to want to make rules with the Neptune that it's undefinable.
Yes.
Right, and absolutely, like that is
So
totally what we're going to see through this.
and we've been here before with different experiences. So there's that note, trust but verify. There's entertain, don't believe.
Yeah,
There's feel free to do due diligence. I always thank people when they review my work because it's so rare to get quality control. But this is what we want. We want to be unperturbed by delay because it's going to pause us until we can have some more sanity, a little less Neptune. Yeah, it may slow us down or we may have surprises. And then that Neptune almost feels like, I mean, I'm going to put it this way, call in helpers to help us figure out how to go to the next phase.
yeah.
Because if they've got that big a message and we've got this big a question mark, something's got to give.
Yeah, absolutely. And likely, we've talked before about how Neptune, leaves everything kind of blurry. I like to describe it as like a slimy sludge that it leaves behind.
Yes.
And I kind of feel like with this topic that we're discussing, Saturn's not going to be able to figure out what those rules look like until the sludge, it comes to the end of that Aries cycle, and
Mhm.
that sludge can be washed away, right? Before it moves
Yeah.
into Taurus. So this won't be a short. We're going to see a lot of this over this whole Saturn and Aries cycle, I think, for sure, and beyond. I had actually written a thing here about in relation to the Saturn Neptune
Mhm.
conjunction. So spiritual ideals demand tangible action. And with so much idealism between all that, so we've got all the Aquarius with the sun and the moon and Mars, and we've got all the Pisces, Neptune shifting Saturn's energy. All three of the outers are actually being ruled by these idealistic placements. And so,
And Jupiter's still on his wild ride in
mhm,
exaltation
for
with that
sure. And being ruled by that
the moon.
crazy, yeah, yeah, absolutely. So not much can manifest into the physical with the way all of this is set
It's
up.
a perfect time to imagine the perfect lover for you, No control, you're not trying to control them, but, who makes you the happiest? Who makes you feel nourished? Who makes you feel smart? Who makes you feel like you can access different parts of yourself? Because you're hearing, like, this is kind of a workspace for you to go work on the biggest dreams you can come up with. Now, I'm saying lover because I have romance in my soul, but it could be your best project, your fin de siècle piece, your opus. It could be anything, a big idea.
Yep, I love it. Yeah, I just thought that was really interesting because it's not like that idealistic energy of this lunation is diffused by anything,
Right.
like it's just, it's super idealistic. So
Yeah.
the Sabian symbol for this one at
Oh, yeah.
29 Aquarius is a butterfly emerging from a chrysalis. This,
Whew.
right? This symbol shows growing, expanding, escaping restrictions. I love
Mhm.
that for an
Yeah.
eclipse, right? And evolving into a more expansive sense of self with
Mhm.
bigger and better potentials. So that,
Mm.
to that dreaming the best thing, right? That's
Right.
beautiful. Yeah. Like a butterfly emerging. At times like these, you're often at a crossroads or major turning point, and you're likely to be able to realize many of your latent but promising potentials. Like an awakening, you are suddenly able to do something that truly reflects you and who you strive to be. This emergence builds for some time, a metamorphosis takes place. Ensure that you take a moment to adjust to new developments before taking flight.
I
So that
mean,
repeats what we said about do the
yeah.
dreaming now, but hold back before taking action or
I
trying
love
to
those,
materialize.
yeah, yeah, sorry about that, but I love the symbol system of the butterfly, and especially anything with the cocoon, because it has this, if you consider it actually happening to you, absolutely grisly connotations. So here's this little, pudgy, happy little worm that found itself compelled to put itself into a coffin, so to speak, of silk, lets its entire body dissolve, its entire body moves into different positions. And critically, at the point where you're coming out of the cocoon, if somebody helps you, it does not help you. It stops the growth. That there needs to be absolute slowness and consciousness of space and room to breathe. And so it is also another admonition to let things untangle after, versus I'm going to go fix every part and set up everything. There's a not passive but a present engagement versus active.
Right, right. Well, and I like this, the flip side of this. So failing to allow for changes,
Mm.
feeling like one will never arrive, too much containment and confinement, unable to move, being tied to the past. But I thought that captured the dichotomy of humanity quite well
Yeah,
at the moment. So it
yeah,
was, I love, yeah, shocking. Not shocking. This is how
not
astrology
shocking
works
at
all the
all.
time, right?
Yeah, here's how we do it.
Excellent. So now we're going to look at, so there's always a pair. So now we have
Right.
our lunar eclipse, which is a total lunar eclipse. Look at how close the sun
Wow.
and the moon are to those nodes,
Yeah, yeah,
And so this is happening at 6:37 a.m. on the East Coast. It's
yeah.
early. Yeah. And did you say something about this arrow
I
cycle that
did.
you're
So
showing?
this is the 133 cycle. And
Okay.
the message from this one is that what you're getting now is primarily illusion, and that you may be manipulated, or, and that's unintentional and intentional, right? So something's going on that is contributing to misreading the situation, or that North Node is blowing stuff up, right? Out
Right.
of
Right.
proportion.
Right. Well, and the interesting thing about this particular one is that so we still have everything over on that one side of the chart, except now the moon has
Yeah,
moved to the opposite side. And one of the meanings of oppositions is that objectivity. Now the two things can actually see each other. That's the most clearly you can see a celestial object, right?
yeah,
And so the order in which these two eclipses are happening, it's fascinating because by this March 3rd one, the moon goes over and goes, Casey, let's see what happened with that
right.
first one, and let's fix it. Let's do what we can to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
And I love that it's in Virgo because it's like be discriminating, be fierce with what you're ready to get rid of, and only keep the most perfect things that have developed over this time.
Mhm.
And perfectionism in the sense of what is perfect for you, not what is perfect within the context of what everybody else told you was supposed to be perfect you
Right,
know
that first house emphasis is saying anything that's coming from other people is irrelevant for you. This is about the eclipse. This is not about everything. because it also says go to the seventh house for that objectivity, and that's everyone else, right? And partnership.
Well, and what that can mean is that those insights and those understanding what to keep and what to get rid of might come through dialogue with another
Right.
person. It might come from hiring somebody else. It might come from something that somebody says to you in a one-on-one conversation that allows you to get an insight into what it is that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's actually going and hiring a professional to help you talk through it, because that's
Mm-hmm.
also a seventh house. Anytime you're in consultation with a professional, that's a seventh house action.
Mm-hmm.
And so anything along those lines, there is this strong message about partnership between these
Mm-hmm.
two, right? Because it's all self, and now it's like, okay, but now how do you bring that person, that new person, into your partnerships?
Well, and it's so interesting that you say that, because when I see all that stuff in the first, I also think of disillusionment as being the message that brings you the information you need to see. And that because it's in the first house, it's going to either happen, right? But or it will not happen to you, but you'll have a strong reaction to it. And that is the metric, right? Things that nourish you, you keep. Things that are messing you up, even if they're really familiar, step away from.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. The other thing that just came to me while you were talking was the idea that maybe not necessarily learning the lessons from your own experience, but maybe look and see how that went for others. You know,
Exactly.
yeah, from having that opposite side. Yeah, definitely. I love
Mhm.
it. So I made this note: Moon and Virgo, we can sift through that too much that came through during the solar eclipse
Mhm.
and use refined discrimination to get rid of what's not helpful to us. Moon and Virgo on the south node can use laser precision examination to decide what's useful and what's not. So use this skill to get rid of what needs to go. And if you don't make the choice consciously, there's a chance the universe will just take care of that for you.
Right. Right. And that's always a little more, did you see what God just did to me kind of vibe.
That's how it can feel, for sure.
Yeah.
And then the other piece is that Mercury's retrograde and it's in charge of that moon. So
Right.
there is a very self-reflective piece to this, what the work of this eclipse and how you want to look at it, for sure. So
Mhm.
use this time to look inward. Maybe there's a small part of you that needs to be released to make
Mm.
room for the new version of yourself that's developing.
Very exciting. Very
Yeah.
exciting. Yeah.
And so the Sabian symbol for this
Oh,
particular
yeah.
one, are you ready?
Yeah.
A powerful statement overcomes a state of political hysteria, right?
What? Bring it.
The symbol shows the ability or the necessity to be able to calm situations, to solve a crisis, to have a steady hand that shows others that someone is in charge. If this is not operating on a positive level in your life, you may want to assess where you need to be doing it. Sometimes our thoughts get out of control over even hysterical. However, this is not much use, as emotions and events just get whipped up, leading to the useless energy flying around. Isn't that wild based on the astrology of the eclipse? Like, it's just fantastic.
I'm just laughing.
It's through control and the power of your personality that you can resolve situations and bring back a state of equilibrium to all involved. The power to sway the mob, having the charisma and talent to turn situations around.
Wow.
And then on the flip side of that, misusing energy to sway others to personal advantage. So
Right.
that's so funny, because when we just think of everything that we have said and what's happening in the world, that really does like energetically feel like the truth just keeps coming out, and whoever doesn't want it to is on the other side just screaming anything into the void to try to save themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hypnotic persuasion, political speak, propaganda, and misinformation.
Mhm. Yep.
And so we are, I don't know about you. I feel like at this point in history, we're at a bit of a tipping point. Like, we're hitting
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The sense of us moving into a new age is becoming more and more present. And that's why I'm saying, like, even if our cast of characters was completely different, it wouldn't necessarily be a different set of circumstances. And so that can give you some compassion. One of the things I thought about that going from, you know, the solar to the lunar eclipse, from Pisces emphasis to the Virgo emphasis, I really have been caught in this last year, caught up in the sense of how both are showing you all of the information, and that Virgo will show it to you like it describes in a controlled way, or in a, I want to say, in an effort to demonstrate harmony. That's what I'll say about it. And Pisces will either have that harmony or not, but it's not going to do anything about it. And it's just over here, and it's all that stuff. And it's kind of warm and like everything's okay, that it's all this stuff. By the time you get to the Virgo, it's saying, stop it. No more stories. You need this and this. Let's go. And it gives you the wherewithal to build a structure that will take out the stuff that you don't need. But I was laughing about it because, you know, emotionally, you know, I've been on this decluttering spree, and now I'm organizing the house or organizing my art studio. And I come across, something to grind pigment, because I was in a traditional paint making class. And so it's this big glass weight, you know, and I come across like a celestite that's, you know, handfuls big kind of thing. And I'm marveling over that I've hidden these things from myself. And the Virgo vibe is saying, you don't need any of these. We need one of these over there. I can't tell you how simplifying that is, versus here's where I was when I purchased this, and here's all the dreams I had, and here's all the things I was trying to do. Like, it is too much with that Pisces lack of boundaries, because it ramps you up.
It does. It does. Yeah. Geez, we got in just under the wire. Look at that. Gosh. So we've got 2 eclipses, one on February 17th and one on March 3rd. Okay, I'm going to, when I edit this and put it into videos, I have an eclipse survival guide, free eclipse survival guide, and I'll put that in the description. You guys can grab that.
Yeah.
Don't charge your stones during eclipse season. Yeah. That's always something that I want to mention to people. You just don't bring that energy.
It's not a ritual day. It's not a spell day.
No, there's some great
energy.
If you go on Sphere and Sundry.
Oh yeah.
Caitlin has an excellent prayer of release for eclipse season. And she actually, last time I was there, she had a great description of rituals that you could do, which in like sea salt baths, like all stuff to do with purifying and clearing and get rid of old stuff. So yeah, so some of that'll be in my eclipse guide too, but hers is way fancier than mine. She has such a different way with words than I do.
I love our community. We get so much from all the different faces of the flowers in it.
So true. So true. Well, that's it for today. And we'll see you next week. Do we know what we're talking about next week?
Well, let's see. I've got let's see, on the 20th, we're not doing the pull a card in transits. We don't have a topic yet. We're kind of hedging around a topic because we've seen some interest in one of our videos, but I don't think we want to talk about it just yet. So stay tuned and join us at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Mountain next week. So we love having you, and we're so excited for this year of programming.
Yeah, and leave some comments if there's something that you want us to talk about. We'd love to know any topics that our viewers would like to see, for sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Miss Lillian. I'm going to click this thank you video, and we're out of here, and we'll see you next week. Bye.